Hi everybody, welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. Welcome to the Knitting Turnpike. My name is Gina Pike. I'm so very happy that you're here with me today. Today we're going to be talking about Stephen West's 2022 Mystery Shawl Knit Along Twists and Turns. I've talked about Clue 1 in another video. I will link it down below. Today we're going to be talking about Clues 2 and 3. I apologize for the lateness of this video. I wanted to do a video for each clue. But I've been sick for the last 3 weeks, still sick, still running fever, still taking antibiotics, pushing through this today, hoping it doesn't make me feel bad again, because last time I made a video it made me feel worse, but I'm going to try. So let's just try to go through this. I have clues 2 and 3 to go through. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Stephen West, he's a shawl knitter, sweater knitter. Every year he hosts a mystery shawl knit along. It's a very fun event. This year he is not disappointing. This shawl is full of, well, he's calling it twists and turns. It's all kinds of sections of things to learn. I made actually kind of a list of things that I can see for opportunities for learning. I just want to kind of briefly go through it. I wanted to make a list so I wouldn't forget anything. And then I'm going to go over to my pin out board. I have it pinned out. It's a little bit odd shaped. I think if I hold it up in front of you, it will not be easily seen because things are kind of need to be blocked for them to show out, to lay out right. I'll go over there, insert a video clip. I hope that'll be okay. And then we'll call it a day. This is going to be a short video. But with Clue 1, we learned how to do this unique twisted braid technique. It was a lot of casting on and casting off of stitches in the middle of your knitting. It's applicable to things like what you would do for sleeves, for sweaters. I did a lot of that before. I'm trying to think about things that you could apply this to. There was alternation of colors, so we used more than one color. There's a lot of make one increase stitches. There's I-cords in this, I-cord on the edges, picking up stitches through I-cords. Clue 2, we did a short row technique that was different, not a German short row, similar to a German short row, but it was, so with this clue, we did a short row technique. It's Stephen West, he called it West short row technique. And it was very simple, and then he showed you how to pick up the stitches because you do have gaps every time you turn and make a short row. There's a gap and you have to do a certain way to close it up. That's all in his tutorial. Now again, he teaches you how to do all of this in his tutorials. I'll link them all below. He walks you through all of the whole process, so I'm not going to be showing you any of that. I do have one thing to show and explain, but that's really it because he does such a good job of explaining everything. There's ribbing technique. Again, alternation of colors, because for Clue 2 you use colors, your accent color, your papa color, and your main color. And then you can also break it up. I've seen lots of people using more colors, bringing in more than one color. Like for a papa color, like they brought in four additional colors. So like they have 4 different pops of color. And there's a couple of different places that you can put it in. One is in the ribbing that I'm going to show you, and I'll point it out for Clue 2. There's also a part in Clue 3 where you could add additional pops of color in if you want to make your shawl very colorful. I'm sticking with my 3 colors. I'll show a picture here. I'm using the dark red, maroon red. That's a Miss Babs Yummy 2-ply yarn in the color Devotion. That's my main color. My contrast color is a Madeline Tosh Merino Light yarn in Copper Pink. It's pink with some little red speckles. And then my papa color is Suburban Stitcher sock yarn, which is a little bit thinner. It's 460 yards per 100 grams. In it, the color for that is maple. It's actually like a fall color, like a rust, but it has a lot of pink accents in it as well, and brown. It's a variegated yarn. Let's see. The other things that you learned are that I thought you could apply from knitting these clues, picking up edge stitches, creating mirror images, because what you do on one side, you have two sides to your shawl. So we did we did a process on one side, then we had to create a mirror image doing the other way. So where we knit on one side, we had to do a lot of purling on the other side. Let's see, cabling multiple stitches. There's a whole cabling section at the top on both sides. This is a little bit more complicated cables because I've shown you in the shawls I've knit here, mostly simple cables like one or two, three cables, involving involving two or three stitches, and that's it. This cables in this section in clue 2 has 4 stitches that you put on a cable needle and take to the back or front, and then involves 4 more stitches after that. So that's a bigger size cable that you're twisting there, making a beautiful cable for your knitting. Let's see, and then also you learn how to carry and move your yarn along the side, and it's opposite when you do it on a mirrored image. You have to do it on the wrong side of your shawl, but you have to flip it a different way when you're on a different side. That's something we also learned in clue 3. We go back to cables, to simple cables, 2-stitch cables, to create intricate designs. Learning how to do it with a cable needle, or with a safety pin, or with an extra knitting needle, or with a DPN, or with using your fingers. So there's a lot of ways you can do those. I have one way I'm going to show you where you do not even have to take it off, just for one of them. The one that is where it leans to the back. The one that leans to the left, where it's to the front, where it's a forward leaning cable, you have to bring the stitches forward to make it lean to the left. I was not able to make that simpler. I was able to do it without taking the stitches off the needle, but it was more complicated than just moving the stitches and doing it that way, because it was involved. This cable was a little bit more complicated because it involved a purl stitch and a knit through the back loop stitch. So you have to move the yarn to the front and back as well, which makes knitting those stitches without moving them a little more complicated. And working with I-cords, doing I-cord embellishments to add design, color, and texture to your shawl. And those are just a few of the things that I've listed for this shawl pattern for clues 1, 2, and 3. Now there's one more clue left after today that will release on Thursday. I'm not sure when this video will post yet. Depends on how I feel and if I can get it edited and stuff. But it'll be on Thursday. That will be the last clue. When we go look at it, you'll see there's still a lot left. So there's a lot of knitting left on this last clue. This clue that we just did, clue 3, was the lightest weight clue that we've had for stitches in a while over the last few years for MKALs. But clue 2 was a pretty heavy knitting clue, and I think he was trying to give us a little bit of time to get caught up. So let's go take a look at what I have on the table over there. I'll insert a special clip for that one cable stitch, and we'll call it a day and wait anxiously for the next clue to come out. Here is the view of the shawl from the top of it, so you can see every bit of it. This is clue 1, like I've showed you. This is clue 2. And then clue 3 includes these long pieces right here. So let's go through it. I've already shown you clue 1, which was this braided alternation of colors, a striped section. Really beautiful, very cool knitting. Learned a lot of things in that. If you want to watch the video for that, I'll link it up above. Now clue 2 started where we picked up stitches along this I-cord edge here and knitted this section here. We knitted this with the main color, and this is my Papa color. And if you can see, it's a lot of garter stitch knitting. And there's a lot of short rows because it's long on this and it gets shorter, a lot more rows, and then these short rows. So you're turning in the middle of your work to create this wedge, beautiful wedge. And then these sections here are twisted rib. You can see it's a twisted rib section with an alternation of colors. Mine is a variegated color. And you can see you do 5 wedges, 4 rows of colors. A lot of people are knitting these wedges in different colors, or even these rows in different colors. There's a lot of opportunity to bring in colors. If you want to do rainbow, if you want to do more than one accent color, that's totally up to you. Once you finish this section, you had to come over to this side and pick up stitches along this I-cord, and it was a mirror. You want to create a mirror image. So this side had a lot of knitting. This side had a lot of purling to create these garter stitch ridges, again, short rows, a Stephen West style, so you had to close the gaps. This side had a lot of purling. I think this side might be just a little bit bigger for me, like gauge-wise. I'm not a great purler, but I did fold them over, and I think they're close. So I just went with it. Again, I did these 5 wedges with the twisted rib in the accent color. And a lot of people are mixing it up, making these wedges in different colors or these in different colors. After you finish that, then you came up to here and you knit this these cables with your this cabled section. You pick up the stitches along here, along this row, and you attach it every time you come back. Every other row you're attaching it to the back here. You create these S-curve cables and these antler cables, and these are done with multiple stitches, like 4 stitches. You taking them to the front or back. Use a cable needle. Now this pop of color in there is part of clue 3. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But so you did this section. This is your contrast color. This is my Madeline Tosh Marine Light and Copper Pink. And each one of these cables, S cables, I think, are supposed to line up with your row of accent. That's what it kind of looks like, that they all picked up right there. And then on this side, it's an alternation, so it's the same thing, but you alternate it, and so you're attaching here this way. One side you did a knit 2 together, on the other side you do an SSK with the stitches in this main color, and then you have these cables again. As you can see, the S cables are lining up. Mine are lining up with this row of twisted rib. And you have 5 of these antler cables, 5 of the S cables. So you have 10 cables on each side. And that was what Clue 2 looked like, and it looked like a bat shawl. When you look at it, it was kind of with just those wedges, and that it was like a bat shawl. Clue 3 is a much shorter clue. It's all done in the accent color, which for me is this rust-looking color that's variegated. This is Suburban Stitchers, sock yarn, and maple. And you can see it's got rust, and it's got some pinks in there, and it's got some browns. And that's how it knits up. And what you did to start Clue 4, you picked up the stitches along this edge here, and then you knit this wave here, and this is just done with twisted stitches. It's a 2-stitch cable stitch leaning to the front and to the back, to the right and left, and you just and then twisted stitches on the back, but then you just follow the pattern to create this long row. Then when you're done with that, you come over onto this side, and you pick up the stitches here and do the same thing all over again. And just knit that long row out. And this is kind of curvy, and so that's why I've got it pinned out. And then the last thing you do is you
knit 10 I-cords in your pop of color, and what you have to do is you have to thread it under these antler cables. So you make these, I kind of followed his direction. I ended up doubling this up, so I doubled my thread because my accent colors are pretty thin yarn, and I wanted it to mimic more the cables, the thick cables. So I did my I-cord with double thread, and you do 10 of them. And he says do 36 rows. I ended up doing 38. You do it basically enough just to fit this section here. Once you thread it through, and you go under, there's a hole in there where you can stick the accent or the I-cords to go under there. And a lot of people, this is another set place where you can bring in lots of color. You don't have to do it all in the accent color. And you just pin it, you stitch it together. I left this here so you can see how I stitched mine together. You just stitch it together, and then you can shift it around once you have stitched it all together. And I did all of mine in my accent color. I really like the way that my accent color looks with my contrast color. I like this rusty pink with this pink, copper pink. And so you just did all 5 of those accent cables. Now I have seen where people are actually doing another I-cord and taking it under this S cable. It might be kind of fun to do like a main color cord and like put it under the S cables, of course, or accent really do the pop color with this, because you can see how it would extend the line. And then maybe do these in some of the main color. To mix it up, you could do both colors under your cables if you have enough of your main color. I don't know how much of the main color we need left, so you might want to wait to the end to add the embellishments to those, just to make sure that you have enough of your main color if you do decide to use your main color. I just left it alone. I may go back and add it later, but there is a way to stick it under there and like accent here another part of the color. But these also, you do these 5 over here as well. And that's clues 2 and 3. And when the clue 3 was a lot less knitting, but that's what it looks like from clues 1, 2, and 3. And I have no idea where he's going to go with this. We still have these live stitches here on a needle. And we have these live stitches here on a needle, so we're probably going to pick up the stitches here and finish this out. And pick up the stitches here and finish this out. But we also have these loops up here that are still looped at the top, and I'm not sure what he's going to do with that yet. So I'm not sure where this is going. There's a lot of twists and turns in this shawl, ha ha ha. And we'll just have to see where he takes us on his journey. Okay, I want to show you guys a little bit of a tip. We're looking at Stephen West's Twist and Turn shawl. Clue 3, he showed you how to do a C2 back cable, an alternate way to do it. I'm going to show you real quick, but then I'm going to show you another alternate way. Might be a little bit easier. The first way he showed us was to put your needle through the back of the second stitch on your needle. This cable stitch involves only 2 stitches. So you put that needle through, you pull it off, you grab the back stitch with your needle, and then bring the stitch in front, and then you knit the first stitch through the back loop, and you knit the second stitch, or you purl the second stitch. And it's a really easy alternate way to do it. It looks really good. The way I like to do it, without even taking the stitches off the needle, another way to do it is you're going to purl this stitch. You're going to knit through the back loop on this stitch first. Doing this stitch first will bring this stitch to the back. Then you're going to purl that stitch. So just think about the dynamics of that. So you're going to insert, you're going to go like this, knit that stitch through the back loop, like this, bring it through like that. Bring your stitch up, then bring your working yarn forward in between, because you've got to purl the first stitch like this. Wrap your yarn around like that. Purl it. Bring them off. Should look exactly the same as the first. Knit through the back loop. Purl. So that's another way to do it without taking your stitches off of your, even take your stitches off your needle, risking dropping it. There's many ways to do many things. Sorry about my voice. I'm still really sick. That's why I haven't done a clue update, but I'm doing this in hopes that I can do clues 2 and 3 together. Hopefully, if I get to feeling better one day. We'll see. It's been almost 2 weeks now. Okay, let's do this again. So without taking it off, the second, you're going to knit through the back loop of the second stitch, purl the first stitch. That's C2 back. So you go in between those 2 stitches to get through here, to get to that back leg of the first stitch. Let's see. Like that. Knit through the back loop. So knit through it, pull it through both the middle of both of those stitches like this. Bring it forward a little bit so you can pull the working yarn through to the front so that you can purl the first stitch. It's a little bit of maneuvering, but it's really easy. I like doing that better than messing with the cable needle. To me, it looks the same. That was doing it Stephen's alternate way. These are me doing it my way. Just now, I just showed you. Looks the same. So, there you go. So, I've been practicing trying to get a shortcut for this this one where you lean to the left, and there really just isn't a shortcut. So the best way to do it is the way Stephen showed us. Do the lean to the left. The first stitch has to come forward, and then you knit the second stitch first. So I just pinch it, hold it forward, and then reposition it like he showed us. I just do it with my finger instead of a cable needle. The first stitch is purled, so bring the yarn to the front, purl the stitch, and then you knit the next stitch through the back loop like that. And there you go. And that just looks better than anything I could come up with. I came up with something, but it just was, there was too many steps involved. This was just ending up looking easier, and you can see how they look when they start leaning to the left. Thank you so much for spending time with me, watching this video. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're not as sick as I have been. I pray that you're all staying healthy this winter. And I feel like I'm on the other side of this, but I still am finishing my antibiotics and trying to break this fever. I keep running fevers every day for 3 weeks, and that just makes you kind of feel yucky. Anyway, I did get tested. I do not have COVID. I do not have strep throat. It's just a really bad sinus infection that will not shake for some reason. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Please take care of yourselves. I hope to see you all very soon.